Hello, everyone. This is Jay Dobbins on the Marvel DC Multiverse, and we are now at episode 446, and I'll be doing a review on Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So, spoiler alert, if you have not seen Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, I strongly suggest you do not listen to this episode. You've been warned. So, the film takes place several years after becoming King of Atlantis. So that means that, and also during that time, several years after that, Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman, has married Mira and had a son, Arthur Jr., while splitting his life between land and sea. Meanwhile, David Kane, aka Black Manta, continues to seek revenge against Arthur for his father's death. So, while working with marine biologist Stephen Shin to find Atlantis artifacts, he finds a black trident that possesses him, its creator promising to give him the power to destroy Arthur. 5 months later, David attacks Atlantis and breaks into its Orichalcum reserves to power Shin's Atlantean machines. Arthur learns that this usage of orichalcum, which emits high quantities of greenhouse gases, caused a planetary extinction when used by an ancient Atlantean kingdom. To learn where David is hiding, Arthur breaks his half-brother Orm out of prison. The two meet with the crime lord Kingfish, who provides information leading to a volcanic island in the South Pacific. While on the island, Arthur and Orm stumble across the Black Trident, which Orm learns was created by Kordax, the brother of King Atlan, and ruler of the Lost Kingdom of Necros, who was imprisoned with blood magic following a failed attempt to usurp the throne. Realizing the blood of any Atlan descendants could release Kordax, the two make their way to Amnesty Bay, where they learned David has kidnapped Arthur Jr., the Atlanteans, with a reluctant Shin's help, determined that Necros's prison is located in Antarctica. So, and then of course, in Necros, Arthur fights David to stop him from injuring Arthur Jr., though Arthur is almost killed before Mira arrives to save her husband. So David throws the Black Trident, or Black Manta, of course, throws the Black Trident at Mira as she is taking her son to safety. But Orm catches it before it strikes her. So the spirit of Kordax leaves David for Orm, who proceeds to fight Arthur and uses his blood to reverse Atlan's magic, freeing Kordax. Arthur convinces Orm to give up his hatred for him, allowing Arthur to destroy both Kordax and the Black Trident. With Kordax's magic vanishing, Necros starts to collapse. David refuses Arthur's help and allows himself to fall into for sure to his apparent death. The Atlanteans and Shin escape to safety, and Arthur and Mira decide to let Orm go and tell the rest of Atlantis that he died on the condition he remains hidden. Believing the unification of the underwater kingdoms and the surface world is necessary. So with that going on, Arthur reveals Atlantis' existence through an announcement at the United Nations and declares his intentions of making the kingdom a member state. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, the movie was all right. It's not a movie I will watch a second time, and it's probably not a movie. I probably wouldn't even take my best friend to see it, even though I take her to see Marvel and DC films all the time. I mean, I take her to see Marvel and DC movies all the time, and of course, John Wick as well. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna give it probably a 6 out of 10. And here's why. One, I say one. Now I think that Mira should have been recast with Amelia Clark. It should have been. So, but the fact that they kept Amber Heard is beyond me, and obviously that hurt their sales. Obviously, which I'm going to get to later. It hurt their ticket sales. So, there's some that are Amber Heard does have some supporters, so yeah, I guess she has I guess she has half supporters and half non-supporters, I guess, but the non-supporters are, I guess, what hurt the movie, I guess. But yeah, her being cast as Mira hurt the movie. Let's see, what else? I would have loved to see Kordak's fight Aquaman in the final battle, which that didn't happen. He was only free for at least probably a few minutes, or at least 2 minutes, maybe 1 minute. I say 1 or 2 minutes at least. He's been freed, only to be killed. And the final fight with Black Manta and Aquaman didn't last long. It was like a few seconds. I mean, if it was like a minute or two, that would have been cool. But you had that going on, and then I would say, it shouldn't have been a whole lot of comedy. I mean, I would say shouldn't have been. A little bit of comedy, but you got a mutated island, which is kind of weird. And then, of course, you got Aquaman talking Orm to eat a cockroach, which is, God. So, and then, of course, I didn't like the post-credit scene either. So, and I think that, because I was thinking, because honestly, when I was watching, judging by the trailers, I'm thinking that Aquaman's father was gonna die. So I'm thinking like, okay, he would have gotten even with Aquaman, of course. He's like, hey, you left my dad to die. I'm going to kill yours, So I think that should have happened. It could have, I think there should have been at least a major death scene in the film, which wasn't. So, yeah, I think that should have happened. But still, I like Tom Curry. I mean, not Tom Curry, sorry. Yeah, that's right, Tom Curry. Arthur's father, of course. Or the major death scene could have been Orm. Or the major death scene could have been, Atlanta. Played by Nicole Kidman. So I think there should have been a major death scene in the film, at least. So yeah, that didn't happen. And I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I mean, I think that the death scene could have made it stronger. But then, I mean, if you weren't going to do that, then you could have at least had it to where, if you're not going to do a major death scene, you could have had it to where Black Manta would, at least. They could have had it to where Black Manta at least allow Aquaman to save him. They could have had that in there, because he was looking at him as he was hanging through dear, as Black Manta was hanging for dear life. Aquaman was looking at him. Then he decided, okay, he put his hand out so he can, for him to grab it so he can pull him up. So he offered to help him. But then then Black Manta says never, never. So it just falls to his death willingly. And I'm thinking like, wait a minute. Because when he had his hand out to help him, when Aquaman had his hand out to help him, I'm like, hey, grab his hand. Then he's like, never. And I'm like, wow, come on, man. Because think about it. If that was me, I would have been like, okay, he let my father to die, but yeah, he's trying, I kidnapped his son, nearly killed his father, but yet he's willing to save me anyway. I would have been like, okay, I would have had my hand out. I would have taken his hand and he would have pulled me up. And I would have, after that, I pretty much would have just gave up my revenge, because he allowed my father to die, but yet he saved my life, so I would just leave him alone, So, but yeah, his pride got the best of him, and he was like, you know what, never. He'd rather die than have Aquaman save him. So I think that was poor writing on that part. So, but yeah, it was all right. I mean, I probably wouldn't watch it a second time. And I knew the movie was going to bomb anyway because the movie has made $126.8 million worldwide with the production budget of $205 to $215 million. So yeah, movie's bombed. And plus, it's the last movie of the DC EU anyway, so, what can you do? Now they can move on from the DCU and focus on the DCU, which is going to be run by Peter Safran and, of course, James Gunn, since they're co-CEOs of DC Studios. So, but honestly, I really didn't want to do it. But I'm going to be honest with you, I really didn't want to do the... honestly, I really didn't want to do a review on this movie, but I have to anyway, because otherwise listeners are going to be curious as to why all of a sudden I'm not reviewing the DC and, the DC and Marvel movies. So, I'm committed to doing that, so I had to stay on it. So, but other than that, that's pretty much it. So, that's all I can say. Oh, by the way, as far as the post credit, they could have done like a different post credit to where, to where there could have been a twist where Black Manta survived the fall, somehow, that could have been a post credit scene, Instead, you got instead you got Orm, grabbing a cockroach, putting it in his burger and eating it. I mean, that's ugh. So yeah, that was a crappy post credit. And then I checked aftercredits.com to find out that there's no after credits for that. It was only a post credit, but not after credit. So it's like whatever. But anyway, I'm done. I'm glad we can, finally put the DCEU behind us. So and focus on the DCU. But anyway, so that concludes this review. Feel free to follow us on Instagram. We're available on iTunes, Google Play Music app, Spotify, and of course YouTube.